Shoulders are really key to everything when it comes to the male physique. If you have well-developed arms, a large and wide back, and a powerful chest, without muscular shoulders, you still look weak. We cannot afford to be out of balance or proportion, and worse, we cannot appear to be weak. Broad shoulders are the goal for lots of people. You look slimmer relative to your waist, and you look stronger and more confident. Here, we're going to look at the top 6 shoulder exercises that you need to get that look you're after. And if you like, they can all be done at home with either a set of dumbbells or workout bands. All right, let's get started. As most of you know, there are 3 distinct muscle groups in the shoulder, and you cannot neglect any of them. The front, anterior deltoid, the side, medial deltoid, and the rear, posterior deltoid. Proper development of each helps ensure the masculine look you want, the strength to build confidence, and the power to help avoid injuries such as the rotator cuff. You may see guys at the gym doing all sorts of variations of shoulder exercises that span from interesting to somewhat bizarre. To get large and strong shoulders, you really only need to stick to the basic exercises for all 3 sections. And best of all, you could do them all without going to the gym or needing excessive weight. First, let's start where most others don't, the side delts, or the medial deltoids if you want to be official. Let's go right to the shoulder muscles that have the biggest impact on appearance and confidence building. Interestingly, the side delts are also the weakest of the 3 shoulder muscles. It's primarily for a lateral motion that in everyday life is not as common as lifting something over your head or pulling something back with your rear delts. So the obvious exercise for the side delts is the lateral raise. It's a very simple exercise, but there are some key things to focus on to be sure you're doing them right and getting the maximum benefit. First, reduce the weight. Seriously, reduce the weight. As we mentioned earlier, this is the smallest of the 3 shoulder muscles, and the last thing you want to do is strain or injure yourself. And it's always good practice to start off with a weight that you can easily handle. Not only will this help you perfect your form, but also determine where you are with your rep count. Second, for size, you want to aim for about 8 reps. That's right, only 8. And 3 sets of 8. But the key is that the last 3 reps need to be difficult. If you can hit 8 reps without much trouble and your form is good, then and only then should you be increasing the weight. And remember, only increase the weight in small increments. The percentage of weight increase is greater when the weight is low. So for example, adding 5 pounds to a 10-pound weight is a 50% increase. That's a lot. Even more important is that the actual numbers are irrelevant unless you're a competitive weightlifter. The amount of weight you lift is only relevant for you personally, and any increase in weight is only particular to where you are. Stay focused on the goal of your increased mass and strength. So once you have found your initial weight, then start the lateral raise with your posture as straight as possible. Keep your core tight and your chest out. Now here is the important part. When you lift the weight, go straight out to the sides. If you cheat a little and move your arms forward just to lift more weight, you're doing yourself a disservice by disengaging your side delts and engaging your stronger front one. So keep the weight low with 100% focus on the side delts. And for your hands, have a slight bend such that the pinky finger is pointing more upward than downward. This will further accentuate the focus on the side delt and perhaps a little on the rear. The range of motion on this exercise should only be about 90 degrees. That is, there is no gain in bringing the weight any higher than your ears. Physics takes over at that point, and the angle of your arms only makes the effort needed from your delts considerably less. You tend to engage more of your trap muscles the higher up you go. If you test this yourself, simply raise your arms from the side with no weights. You will see that the side delts stop engaging at 90 degrees, then your lat takes over as you lift over your head. Now, 2 other helpful hints for the side lateral raises. First, sit in a chair if that gives you more stability. The goal is to focus on the shoulders, not your balance or anything else that will take away from that focus. If you do decide to use a chair, the same principles apply. Keep your back straight, your core tight, and the angle of your hands with a focus on the mid. Second, if you don't have dumbbells or weights that you want to use, then try an exercise band. Since the weight is low for this exercise, the bands work incredibly well. Simply adjust your feet under the bands to the point where the raises become hard at 5 and 6, and then proceed to number 8. Of course, bands are also ideal for those who travel or work out outside the home or gym. Let's now turn to the rear delts. These are often overlooked simply because you cannot see them in the way that you can the front and side shoulders. But overlooking the rear delts is a mistake, not only for getting that strong appearance, but the overall performance and strength. As with all muscles in your body, there is a natural synergy that you do not want to ignore or neglect. At its core, the rear delt is a pulling muscle. Much like the lat pull down or pull-ups, we want the same movement, but without the use of the biceps. There are two excellent exercises that help you with the development of those rear shoulders. First is the seated row. Get yourself a chair and sit on the end of it. Keep your feet together and have the dumbbells underneath you between your feet and the front of the chair. You want them in easy reach of your hands before you pick them up. If this move is unfamiliar, then drop the weight and work on your form. Remember, the weight is right for you when you begin to strain and struggle at about reps 5 or 6. If you can't get to 8, then reduce the weight. For form, have your elbows more out to the side like a proper fly motion. If you bring your elbows in too tight to your body, you're working your back more than your shoulders. Also, it's easier when your elbows are tucked in tight to your body, so use that as a clue that your form for your rear delts is not quite right. Bend over at the waist while sitting on the edge of the chair until your belly or chest touches the top of your thighs. Keep your eyes looking straight down at the ground from this position. Then deliberately raise the weights backward up to 90 degrees. Unlike the lateral raise, you will notice that you can't actually raise the weights any further than 90 degrees. Try to be as deliberate and slow as possible and really focus on zoning in on those rear deltoids. Adjust the width of your fly as needed and try to avoid using your stronger back muscles to help. Only when you've mastered the 8 reps with perfect form and focus can you then up the weight. Remember, 3 separate sets of 8 reps. Second is the lawnmower. This exercise for the rear delts is different as you will want a lot more weight to be most effective. Even bands are super effective with the lawnmowers as you can really shorten the throw for max resistance. For this, get yourself into the lunge position or use a weight bench. Rest your elbow on your thigh and have the dumbbell near your front foot. Keep your elbow resting on your thigh or the bench and protect your back to give a little bit more leverage in the pull. Now lift the weight straight back and upward with a focus on your rear delt. The lawnmower will engage your back too as it's a compound exercise, but if you lower the weight and focus on the fly aspect of the motion, your rear deltoids will benefit more. This is a great isolation exercise and made safe due to the elbow resting on your thigh or the bench. If you are using a band, keep the throw short as you place that band under your front foot. You want tension as much as possible at the beginning of the move as you do at the top. It will not be even, but the bands are still very effective. Finally now, let's move to those front delts. The anterior deltoid muscle. This is the one that is so obvious and visible, much to the point where the front shoulders are actually often overtrained. One reason for this is that the shoulder is often engaged in chest exercises as an additional source of strength or as a stabilizer. This is particularly true with push-ups or other calisthenics. Now, there really is only one true movement for the front delts, and that's the press. And let's focus on the 3 most effective variants of that front press. First is the standard military press. As simple and almost boring as this movement is, it's still one of the most effective exercises for the shoulder. As we know, sometimes it's the most basic things that are the most effective. Here, a chair again is very effective as you can focus more on the shoulder movement instead of your balance. But a standing position is still very effective. Just remember to keep your core tight and the chest out. For form, bring the weights down to at least parallel with your ears. Then press upward. You can even extend downward toward the top of your shoulders to engage the deltoids even more. Be very careful not to extend too far downward where you feel pain or lack of control over the weights. Proceed upward slowly and deliberately until your arms are straight up. While the top of the motion does engage your triceps more than your delts, it's important to complete the full range of motion. As mentioned earlier, this is one of the most natural movements that primarily engages the shoulder muscles. The second variation is the Arnold press. Here, this movement made famous by Arnold Schwarzenegger was to increase the engagement of the front deltoid. To start, you begin in the same position as you did with the military press. However, now your palms are facing inward towards your chin while holding the weight. As you begin the movement upward, you rotate your hands from the inward-facing position to the outward-facing position at the top of the move. When your arms are above your head, you're in the exact same position as the traditional military press. As you lower the weight, rotate them in the reverse fashion to where your palms are facing your chin at the bottom of the movement. The final variation of the press movement is the upright row. You should consider the upright row as a variation of the press only. This is not the core movement for your front delts as the standard press is, but can be very effective if done correctly. Form here is the key. You want to be very careful with your wrists and to avoid any overburden on your shoulders. Again, start with a lower weight and work on perfecting your form. Stand straight up with an engaged core and a posture straight as possible. Start with the dumbbell or bar hanging straight down. Then lift the weight straight up with your hands running vertical up the length of your chest. You want to pull the weight with a focus on your elbows while keeping your wrists in a neutral position and stress-free. The top of the movement will have your elbows higher than your wrists. This is very important for the focus on the deltoids. One way to think about this movement is to pull with your elbows and hold on to the weight with your relaxed wrists. This is another very slow and deliberate movement. Do not add weight such that you have to jerk your body to complete the move. Lower the weight and focus on proper form by moving your arms naturally upward. So there you have it, the 6 most effective and basic exercises to make your shoulders as broad, strong, and attractive as possible. And all this can be done in the comfort of your home or a hotel room. Check out this video on the effect of caffeine and athletic performance, and we'll see you next time.